Yeah.
Welcome to the Wise Take DFS podcast. I am your host, CK013. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I'm joined once again by one of Wise Take's finest DFS analysts, Mr. KamG333. You can find him on Twitter at KamG333. I saw the slight smile on your face when I nailed you with the 333. You like that, didn't you? It's like Triple H, but 333. You know what I mean? You like that.
Different there.
It's something different, exactly. Yeah. So I actually had that one waiting for a couple weeks, and I decided to waiting for the right time. And I know you had a busy day today, so I know you've been out doing things with the family and all that stuff, and I was like, let me get this man in the DFS mode by reminding this man who he is right now. He is KamG333. You know what I mean?
Thank you for reminding me who I am. I appreciate it. Yeah, just spice it up a little bit on this this wacky slate that we're about to talk about with the 4 games on the Thursday, like we typically are accustomed to. I think we were blessed with like a 9-gamer or something last week, but now we're back to reality with the wacky 4-game slate tomorrow.
That's right.
So spice it up a little bit on the show.
Yeah, we gotta spice it up, keep it fresh. You mentioned the main slate is obviously a 4-game slate, but because it's only a 4-game slate and there is an early slate, we're going to cover both slates. So we're going to do the 4x4. You know what I'm saying? A little 4x4 action. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? How about that?
I feel that.
We got the spice up. We got the 4x4. But yeah, it's pretty pathetic. It was nice that one Thursday we had a decent size, but whenever they try to match, we could have an 8-game slate if they didn't do the day stuff. Like we could have a nice 8-game slate, but instead.
Yeah, exactly. We can't just have all the teams play at night.
Yeah,
that would be
too much of a good thing. Yeah,
we have to have like 2 teams at like 1, a couple at 2, 1 at 3. just ruin it all for everyone.
Yep, that's what they do. Anyway, we'll go ahead and jump right in, starting with the early slate. I'm looking at DraftKings anyway. German Marquez of the Colorado Rockies visiting Vince Velasquez of those Philadelphia Phillies. Philly looks like they're minus 118 at home. I'm seeing a total of 8.5, somewhere in that range. Let me check in terms of the weather. 80 degrees, 36% humidity, 14 mile per hour winds blowing more left to right, but it does look like slightly in as well from left. What do you think, man?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm looking at DraftKings too because I feel like on these weird days, like FanDuel will do some weird stuff where they make like, I wouldn't be surprised if they made like 8 1-game slates or something, or like they just tried to like get as much action as possible where they could get in. But
yeah, FanDuel. Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah, I think FanDuel did. They have a 4-game slate, but it starts at 12. They cut out the 3 o'clock game. So you're right. They did do some weird, wacky shit. Yes.
Yeah, they always do. I mean, I get where they're coming from with that because I agree it's kind of annoying when you're like playing these early day slates because you never know with like the lineups and stuff, and then you're always waiting for like that 3:30 game when all the other games are like half done, and then you can't pivot off your lineup. So I get it, but it still is annoying. But yeah, this first game, Phillies at the Rockies here. 2 pitchers I'm a little interested in. You get Velasquez going up against the Rockies. Rockies on the road, always less scary than when they're at Coors, obviously. You can definitely pick on them. However, this year I've been a little hesitant to pick on them just because I feel like they're not as bad on the road as they were last year, but I feel like a lot of industry still has this notion that they're still really bad on the road, and I think they've improved a little bit with that. So I think the ownership on opposing pitchers is always a little elevated. Velasquez might be somewhat popular going up against them tomorrow just because that kind of seems to be like a thing where you attack the pitchers against Colorado on the road. But I believe he had a really bad outing last time going up against the Brewers, which might keep his ownership down. Really struggles against lefties for the most part. I mean, like his expected numbers don't look terrible, but just like what he's given up so far this year, fly balls are always there, and in this ballpark that has potential to cause damage. The lefties in this lineup outside of Blackman and Cargo, though, like that's all you really have to worry about. So I think you could take a shot on him here and just hope that he kind of navigates his way around those two with a 30% strikeout to righties and 28% or 27% to lefties. It's a pretty good spot here at 7-1. Obviously risky, but I think he's definitely in play. If I was going to be attacking him, it would be the guys like I was talking about that I'm worried about. I think the most optimal plays would be like Charlie Blackmon, Carlos Gonzalez, and Gerardo Parra, but there could be a case where you could make like a 5-team stack and throw in Arenado and Story and just hope they kind of go off here, but I don't think that's the most optimal. And then Marquez here at 5-3 on DraftKings going up against the Phillies here, where like it's kind of been a thing this year, right? Like attacking pitchers or attacking the Phillies with pitchers. Marquez is a guy who has really good games and then can also get shelled. I'm kind of leaning towards a good game in this one here. Guy 3.72 xFIP versus righties, 26% strikeout percentage as well. Has struggled versus lefties this year, but looking at this lineup and stuff, I don't think I really have to worry too much about that. Carlos Santana, looking into some of his batted ball stuff, seems to not be squaring up the ball right now. Odubel Herrera started off the year with like a 50 straight on base percentage. He's been struggling as well. That's another lefty you don't have to worry about. And then Nick Williams always has power, but can strike out and isn't a guy you're terribly worried about. So at 5-3, I really like the price here for Marquez, for a guy who I know can have a pretty good game, especially at this price here against the Phillies, who we know can give up a lot of strikeouts to opposing pitchers.
Yeah, I'll second what you said. Sum it up real quick. I like both pitchers in this spot. I think Velasquez will be a little bit more popular. Maybe he's a little bit more obvious. We know Velasquez is dominant against righties, but does struggle against lefties. Colorado's got a couple of them that are pretty good. So I think Charlie Blackmon, as Cass mentioned, likes to play in this ballpark. I think he's fine, of course. But I prefer the pitching on both sides. Velasquez a little bit more of an obvious option. German Marquez probably not so much. Probably get him a decent ownership even on a 4-game slate. And we're going to need the savings because we do have Verlander and Clevenger on this slate. So we're going to need the savings for an SP2. So I like it, man. I'm with you. I think Velasquez is acceptable. He's probably more of the chalky option. And I think German Marquez more of the tournament risky. But with the Phillies, they're going to give him a ton of upside. They had to strike out so much. It's just going to add to his upside. So I'm with you, man. I like Marquez also. Next up, we got Lance Lynn of those Minnesota Twins visiting Michael Fulmer of those, actually I clicked the wrong thing, of those Detroit Tigers. Miguel Cabrera, this Detroit Tigers, unfortunately. Total here is 8.5. Detroit plus 105. Home underdogs, 80 degrees, 33% humidity, and 10-mile-per-hour winds blowing out to center field. What you got, Kay?
Yeah, I believe I pitched Lynn last time he faced the Tigers going up against last time he faced the Tigers going up against a lineup that was really right-handed heavy, and he really dominated them, going 6 2/3, 5 hits, no runs, only 4 strikeouts, but 16 ground balls, and went for 23 DraftKings points. So that was kind of like an optimal spot for him. If you can get a lineup where he's going to have a lot of righties, like I could see a scenario where you play him, but unfortunately, I think last time he pitched against these guys, Leonis Martin was out. I believe Jaime Candelario was out, and Victor Martinez was out as well. I think they were missing all 3 of those guys, if I remember correctly, which is why they rolled out like 8 or 9 righties here. So it's going to be a little bit of a different scenario. pretty good hitting conditions as well here. So I think I'm going to pass on Lance Lynn. Maybe some people will go there just because of his history, and they kind of like you can attack the Tigers. He does have strikeout upside against the righties, but 6'9", I just don't want to go there. I would probably think about playing him if he was in the fives, but I don't like that for that price. I think you can take a look at like Leonis Martin. I think he's a really solid play. And don't mind like a Jaime Candelario as well, but I would really single out Leonis Martin as the top play for the Tigers. Moving on to the other side, Fulmer here. I don't like Fulmer's interesting. I feel like I kind of like him as a pitcher. He doesn't I don't know. He profiles like he's the kind of profile pitcher that I like to pitch, like somewhat of a ground ball. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
I don't, man. I do, but I don't. But I do though.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's got the makeup of someone who I like to pitch. Yeah. Like, he doesn't give up a whole lot. But with that being said, like, he doesn't strike out a whole ton of guys. And this like Minnesota team, I don't know if I love it, but at 5.5, it's definitely a good price, and I'll probably have to look into him a little deeper tomorrow. I wouldn't hate some of these bats for Minnesota as well, but I think I would favor Fulmer in this matchup, honestly. The Twins just don't get me too excited right now. I usually like to play them when they're at home, but I think a couple of bats are viable, but that's about it for me.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule out Michael Fulmer at 5.5 right now. To be honest, I'd kind of lean towards Marquez, and that's only because of the strikeout upside that Philly brings.
So would I.
But so with that said, it's 4 games. We got Verlander in 1 game. We got Clevenger in another game. So of those like guys, like Fulmer is the next recognizable name that I think I would choose to pick on. I think that Eddie Rosario and even Brian Dozier, who has been a lot better against righties this season, Logan Morrison, some of these guys, I may have to roll the dice with them because we do have the wind blowing out. It is a little bit warm out there in Detroit. And Fulmer has, like you said, his problem is he's not striking guys out. I played this guy plenty of times, and he just lets me down every time. And it's like he'll go like 6 innings, and he'll have like 20 points. But because he doesn't have any strikeouts, the minute he starts giving up runs, it's just it's like a landslide, dude. It's just from 20 to 5, just boom, 1 inning.
He has to be like perfect to get.
Yeah, so I think that like on a 4-game slate, there's not too many situations where I'm going to be able to look at it and say I'm either going to I'm not going to play anything from it. I'm just going to wash it off. It's only a 4-game slate, so that means I have to consider some of these Twins. I am with you on Lance Lynn. I'm not paying 6.9 for Lance Lynn when Velasquez, who in my opinion has more upside, is only $200 more. It's just, I agree. I know if Lance Lynn has done well against the Tigers, and maybe if Lance Lynn was in the 5s or somewhere like that, we could consider him. But at 6.9, I think it's just an overpay. And again, like, why wouldn't we just play Velasquez at 7.1, who's got more upside and in a better strikeout matchup?
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
That's a great call on Leonis Martin, too. I love that dude. Martin, whatever his name is. That dude's awesome. He's, like, so good.
Yeah,
so
he was, like, he was hurt for, oh, my God, Duvall hit a grand slam.
Yes, he did.
He was hurt for a little bit, too, like, in between the year, and he started off really hot to start the year, and then, like, later on he got hurt, and it took him a while to come back, but I think he's healthy again, and he's starting to really hit the ball hard again, and you can see it in his outcome. Like, I think he's put up double digits for the most part, like the last week here. So I really like him tomorrow against Lynn. It's probably one of the best matchups he'll get.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, we got Mike Clevenger of the Cleveland Indians visiting Carlos Rodon of the Chicago White Sox, the lefty, of course. Total of this game is currently 9. Chicago plus 125, home underdogs. It's going to be about 78 degrees, 41% humidity out in Chi-Town. What do you got?
Yeah, the Indians have really sucked like the last couple of days here. I think people keep attacking them, but I think I could go right back here with like a White Sox arm. Rodon's actually someone I pitched last time going up against the Red Sox, and he actually did pretty decent. I think think he had 15, 16 DraftKings points, and I think he actually could have gotten more in that outing. Kind of like a tilting game if you were watching it. The White Sox defense just didn't really help him out. I think he probably could have gone like 6 and given up maybe a couple, like a run less or something. So I think he probably could have gotten over 20 in that matchup. Going up against the Indians, lefty, you're going to get guys like Ramirez and Lindor from the right side who have a little bit less pop from that side of the plate, better average, I believe. So I like that. Makes the matchup less scary. And then lefty on lefty for Brantley. And if Yonder Alonso is going to play tomorrow, that kind of gets him out of there. If he's even going to be in the lineup, he might not be, which is also another plus. So I kind of like him tomorrow at 6-3. He's a guy kind of literally the opposite of what you were talking about with Fulmer. Like, he does have good strikeout stuff. So if he does give up a run here or there, like, he does have the strikeout stuff to be able to make up the like negative points you lost from the earned runs. So that's always a plus as well. Doesn't have to be perfect. But he's a guy who you worried about walks and everything last year, but he's actually done pretty decent with the walks so far in the minors. And looked to be somewhat in control of his pitches. Last time he faced Boston, I watched his game and I didn't notice anything really like sporadic for him. So I think I could go there at 6-3 again tomorrow. I think it'll probably be a scenario where I have to choose between him and Marquez from what I'm looking at. I think Clevenger's fine as well. Kind of in that weird price range. At 9-7, I don't know if I'll need to go there with the kind of SP2 cheap options that we just identified. And I could just pay up for Verlander, who I think is pretty safe to go for 25-30 tomorrow.
Yeah, I look at Clevenger, and he hasn't really excited me as of late, not showing us a ton lately. I think even earlier this year, I think the White Sox was one of the best matchups you can get for a righty or a lefty. I think he didn't do all that well. He left the game early. I think he had a high pitch count that day. But I'm with you. I think that there's enough of these cheap guys. We talked about Marquez. We talked about the possibility of Fulmer. We talked about Vince Velasquez. And now we have Carlos Rodon, who's also an option. So it's like, I don't think we need to go to Clevenger on a 4-game slate. I think, why wouldn't we just go up to Verlander if we have all these other guys that we do like that are a little bit cheaper? So I'm with you there. I don't think I really have too much interest in Clevenger at 9-7. Rodon, I do have some interest in. The Indians have been on a little bit of a cold spell. There are a lot of switch hitters on this team, and most of them hit better against righties. So I do think it's an interesting situation for Rodon, who, like you said, he's the opposite of Fulmer. He's a guy that takes more chances. He may give up more home runs, get hit a little bit harder, but he typically builds himself his own little floor with strikeouts. If he starts off the game with 6 strikeouts, then he gives up 2 home runs, it's not as bad. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, he got the strikeouts. And that's something Rodon could do. I'm just looking at his minor league game logs, man, and he wants most of his minor league starts, he only pitched 5 innings. 6 strikeouts, 8 strikeouts, 8 strikeouts. Then he had one game on the 24th where, for whatever reason, he only went 2 2/3. And he had 6 strikeouts in 2 2/3.
That's great.
It's just crazy. Yeah. And while the Indians aren't a team that I love to attack from a strikeout perspective, they are striking out more this year than they were last year. So I'm with you at 6-3. We talked about Velasquez. I do like Marquez. I do like Velasquez. But then Rodon is kind of priced in between them, and he's got a ton of upside. It's not a great matchup, not a great park. But needless to say, it really rather than make a case for Rodon, it really, what it does is, to me, make more of a case against Clevenger. If I can get Verlander, I'd much rather have Verlander, and now I have 3 cheaper options that I can consider here and feel pretty good about.
Yeah.
So I like it, man. I do like Rodon, and I expect the Indians to be one of the chalkier stacks on this 4-game slate. And if we like the pitcher, we're not going to be too big on the bat, so naturally we'll end up with a contrarian build. I like it.
Yep.
Next up, Justin Verlander of the Houston Astros visiting Frankie Montas of the Oakland Athletics. Total here is 7.5. Oakland plus 155. Home underdog. 69 degrees, 54% humidity. Currently, as we talk, the Houston Astros are pounding Paul Blackburn. Just pounding Paul Blackburn, who I believe is terrible. Cam, what do you got here?
Yeah, pretty easy for me in this one. Just play Verlander as your SP1. Pair him with like a Rodon or German Marquez or something like that, and then try and get as many of these Astros bats you can. Going up against Frankie Montas, he has been good this year, but like I don't think he's that good, right? 26, 20, and 23. I kind of looked into him a little bit before the show, and he's fine. Like I don't have anything against him, but I think there's definitely going to be regression for him in the upcoming starts, and this is a really good spot for that regression to come out, going up against the Astros, who have been really quiet to start this year, but looks like they're starting to heat up. We've seen them slowly heat up the past couple weeks. Now tonight, just with a 10-run outburst in 2 innings here in Oakland, so wouldn't be surprised if they put up a lot of runs tomorrow. And when Oakland's hot, or not Oakland, when Houston's hot, I've learned to just ride that train. So I'm probably just going to do it again tomorrow. So I think some of the pitching options that we talked about are a little bit contrarian. So if Houston's a chalkier stack, I think we can kind of get off that with like a SP2 contrarian pitcher and maybe a couple contrarian one-offs from the Houston stack as well. But for me, it's all Houston tomorrow on this 4-game slate.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree with you on Montas. I really don't think he's that good. And well, I don't think he's bad. Like you said, I just don't think he's that good. And
he's not. I don't think he's good enough to go and put up like a 26 again, right? Like,
not against Houston. And we know Houston doesn't strike out, so we never like taking pitchers against Houston anyway. But this is a matter of like Houston seems like they're starting to heat up. I don't want to overreact because the guy that they're destroying right now is Paul Blackburn, and I truly believe that guy's horrible. But at the same time, I do think they might be heating up, and we've been kind of waiting for them to heat up. The entire season, they've kind of been like mediocre, and that's not their team. They're a very high-powered, high-profile team. They should be competing with teams like Boston and New York for one of the best offenses out there. And this year, they haven't been. So I'm expecting at some point, even if it's just a streak thing, that we see that team return, and maybe this is the start of it. So I'm with you, man. It's kind of hard for me to get off of the Houston bats when I look at the other places. I mean, I think that people will look to that Minnesota game for some bats, and I think people may try some Indians and, of course, the Astros. But like you said, because we like some of the other contrarian SP2 options, I'm really not worried about playing the chalk elsewhere. If it means a chalky Houston stack and a Justin Verlander, I think I'm fine with that.
Yep, yeah, I agree.
All right, moving on to the main slate. We got another 4, and then we're up out of here. Do you know who's pitching for Tampa? I don't see a pitcher listed here.
No, dude. I do not know. I see that it's not listed, and like, who knows with them, right?
Oh my
It's kind
of so annoying, man.
They are so annoying. It's to the point where it's such a pain in the ass because just for me, just the way my brain works, like I physically cannot play bats against them really, just because I don't know who they're going up against. So like I don't know who to pick. Like you could. Like I said, I was on the Y stream like 2 days ago, and I was like, it's tough to do this because you could literally go up against like 5 or 6 pitchers. And that day I looked at the game logs after the game, and they had their closer or whatever. He pitched the first 2 innings, and then it was like 1 inning, 1 inning, 1 inning, 1 inning. And it's like, who the hell knows? I feel like you're really just kind of throwing a dart there.
Agreed.
I mean, in terms of this game, like you can definitely play bats. It just kind of is annoying because you don't really know what bats for sure. Like you can't feel confident in them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. MLB.com has Blake Snell, but obviously everybody else is missing a line.
DraftKings has Blake Snell too as like the probable guy.
I wonder what happened. I mean, everywhere else I look has Blake Snell, so I guess let's just assume it's Blake Snell.
Yeah.
That being said, Blake Snell of the Tampa Bay Rays visiting Domingo Germán of Paulie D's New York Yankees. Total in this game is currently 8.5. The Yankees -160 at home. So apparently everybody except for our source seems to know it's Blake Snell. I'm seeing 80 degrees, 35% humidity, and 14-mile-per-hour winds, Cam, blowing out to right field. The short porch and 14-mile-an-hour winds. If this holds up, could be a pretty interesting day for the lefties. What do you got, man?
Yep. Yeah, I love Snell. Like, I think everyone who subscribes to us knows that. Like, I pitch him probably every single time he pitches, but I don't know if I can do that tomorrow. In New York, he's a guy who really thrives in Tampa Bay, right? And moving to New York, this just isn't a good spot, a good ballpark for him to go into and really play against. So I can't pitch him tomorrow. I don't think it really hurts me to say that, but I think there's a scenario where he could give up a lot of home runs, fly ball, hard contact here, and it could just really end up leaving the park just because of these conditions. Have a lot of guys in the Yankees that hit the ball hard, and I just can't do it tomorrow. So I'm not going to go there. He could have a dominant outing. Snell has really good stuff, a lot of different pitches, has worked on his command a lot, walking less guys. So I get it, but it's just not the spot for me. Definitely could take some power bats here. Going up against him, I think Stanton's the obvious one, just a guy who crushes lefties. Looks like Gary the Goat has really good BVP as well versus him, but he's been struggling at the plate. But in a 10 at-bat sample, he's got 4 hits and 3 home runs. So that looks good for him. But some of the guys I'd be looking at here if they play tomorrow, Tyler Austin versus lefty. I'm not sure if he'll crack the lineup. Aaron Hicks, and then 8 and 9, Andujar and Torres. I do really like those guys a lot, and they've been hitting pretty well recently. So I like the Yankees bats here, and Domingo Germán. Oh boy, we're gonna do this again. This guy always pitches on slates where I feel like you're like uptight for a pitching option, and somehow I just fall for his trap all the time. He's got like a 13% swinging strike rate or 12.4 or something like that. Whatever. And then next thing you know, he's in my lineups. And 20 minutes later, he's giving up 2 home runs, 1 to Asdrubal Cabrera and 1 to Jay Bruce or something. And I'm just tilting my ass off. And then he goes and strikes out 10 guys. And then, yeah. So if you want to hop on a roller coaster tomorrow and roster Germán at 6-7, you can definitely go for it. Going up against the Rays, he'll probably give up a home run or 2, though. But it's just a matter of fact if he can strike out 10 again. I don't think I'm going to go there and take the risk because I'll save myself the tilt and the headache. But I wouldn't hate like a Jake Bauers here, the rookie who got called up. Crone is fine as well. But that would probably be about it for me. Maybe like a Ramos or a Wendell as well in the short ballpark with the wind blowing out.
Yeah, it's funny, man, because I took a peek at the rest of the games, and I mean, I hate to say this, but these 2 are my favorite pitchers. I mean, it's crazy, but Domingo Germán, he was just 8-something against the Mets. Now all of a sudden he's home and he's 6-7. I don't really understand that. By the way, that Jake Bauers dude is going to be a nightmare to pitchers. I watched him against J. Happ this morning, foul out for like 1 million balls. There's like 1 million of them. Just couldn't strike the guy out.
I saw you. Wait, were you tilting this morning with J. Happ?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely, I was. You better believe it. I was dumb enough to play him.
My favorite one. Because you know how Twitter has like this that thing where it's like, while you were away.
Yeah, while you were away, CK was just bashing people on Twitter.
That's literally what it was. While you were away, CK was pissed off at J. Happ. It's like 5 of the tweets. It's like J. Happ's a bag of D's. All this shit.
All of them. It's how I advance.
I don't even have to look at.
Yeah.
I don't even have to look at the MLB.com app because I just know how he's doing.
You just look at Twitter, look at my feed, and you'll know. If you're on the same guys I'm on, you'll know.
Yeah, I should just play like all the same guys that you have every day, and then I wouldn't have to check. You can just I'll just have to check Twitter, and like I can just read what you're thinking, and then I can feel the same way after that.
Exactly. You'll just right to the point. Like instead of just showing you a score, I'll show you like the emotion that you're going to be feeling in a minute. But
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, man, I know. Like I'm with you. I don't necessarily love to play Blake Snell in Yankee Stadium against the Yankees, not when they're at home, but. Then we got Tyson Ross against the Braves. We got David Price against Seattle. We've got like Matt Koch against the Mets. Like it gets really ugly, man. Like we have nobody else. So I think
my God.
These two pitchers are actually my favorite pitchers. Like I expect Blake Snell to give up some runs, but he's got by far more strikeout upside than any one of these guys. So it's like I gotta try it. You gotta figure Blake Snell should be able to get enough strikeouts to raise his floor. I think he had a pretty bad game in his last outing. He was like mega chalk. But, I mean, it's going to be tough. I guess you could make a case to do a double paydown, like play like maybe Herman and, I don't know, I really don't want to play Price. I guess he'd be the next best thing. But, like, I really don't want to play Tyson Ross against the Braves. I guess Anibal Sanchez against the Padres. Like, are people really going to – is that going to be the chalk tomorrow? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
dude,
it might be.
I don't – like, that – he'll probably be popular.
I think he will. Like, Anibal Sanchez on a 4-game slate against the Padres with these guys, I think he will. And that's terrifying. Like that's terrifying. So I think as of right now, this is where I'm going to come for pitching. Both of these guys, assuming that this is really the real deal. But Herman Marquez, I played Herman Marquez. Domingo Herman, I played the dude at freaking 8-5 against the Mets. I'm gonna play him at 6-7 against the Rays.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Herman Marquez is looking juicy on this slate.
He would be looking real juicy on this slate. He'd be the ace right there.
Yeah,
SP1 all day. Tyson Ross of the San Diego Padres visiting Anibal Sanchez of the Atlanta Braves. Total here is 8.5. Atlanta minus 135 at home. 82 degrees, 68% humidity. Not quite as warm as it normally is out in Atlanta, a town all day, according to Cash and DFS. What do you got here?
Yeah. So the Braves are starting to heat up again a little bit. They've been struggling for the past couple weeks, but I think Freddie Freeman's hit a home run in the past couple. I think he has 3 straight now. And Ross is a guy who's just historically struggled a little bit with lefties. So I could see him putting one over the fence again tomorrow. So I'll definitely have exposure to Freeman on this slate. I think Markakis is in play. I like Ozzie Albies almost every day. He's starting to get it going again, kind of like I talked about. Those two are the main guys who have been somewhat quiet, and they're starting to heat up again. So I think the Braves are in play. I think for me, though, it'd just be mostly those two that I talked about, and Freeman and Albies. I don't think I can pitch Ross here in Atlanta going up against the Braves. I do respect him as a pitcher. He's had good outings. But I don't know. Like, he started off the season really good and has kind of seen somewhat of a decline. So I'm not going to go there tomorrow. Too bad of a matchup. On the other side, oh boy, Anibal Sanchez going up against the Padres. I don't know, man. Like, oh, that's gonna be so hard to pick. He's gonna be so hard to like click on and lock him in rosters tomorrow. But I mean, he hasn't pitched bad this year, right? I was watching the game, I think against Atlanta, or against the Dodgers, and they were kind of talking about like why he's been somewhat decent this year, and they were talking about like his pitch, like his type of pitches he's throwing and stuff. So I'll have to look into that a little bit more, see if he's like changed his pitching style and stuff, if that is correlated to kind of his success so far this year. He's probably going to give up a home run or two. It's just a matter of fact if he can give up like a solo shot rather than like a 3-run or 4-run or a grand slam or something. That's probably what it'll come down to. I think Eric Hosmer is a really good candidate. Tomorrow in this ballpark, gets a huge ballpark boost. Has been hitting the ball really hard, so I like Hosmer. And I think you could play like a Spangenberg or a Renfroe as well. But I'll have to think about Sanchez. He's tempting. It's just not sexy at all because it's very scary.
Yeah, it's scary, man. Especially if we get the feeling that he may be popular, and he may be at 5'5". I mean, as much as I think some people want to play Snell, some people are going to play Yankees. So it's gonna be and if you want to play Yankees, Anibal Sanchez is a good way to get you there. He's at 5'5". So we'll have to wait and see. If he ends up being the chalk, if we know he's the chalk, I'm stacking Padres. There's no way I'm playing Anibal Sanchez chalk. Like, you're only playing Anibal Sanchez if he's just like a mediocre type option. But you're not playing him if he's like the number 1 or number 2 option. You know what I mean? Like, you just can't. It's like you can't.
I was just gonna say, I feel like just these 2 games that we've looked into, this seems like a prime candidate for one of those slates where it's like
the Padres win.
You literally don't do any research, and you just like try and get a feel for what the public and everything's gonna do, and then you just literally go the opposite. Sanchez is gonna be popular, Padres.
Yeah.
If like vice versa, then Sanchez or whatever.
It does have that feel because we don't have that 1 or 2 like obvious spots. Like, even like we had John Gray the other day. That was a terrible slate, but at least we had John Gray. And like, he got hit with a 3-run bomb in the first inning, still walked out of that and dominated. You know what I mean? So
he came back.
So it's like that's kind of like, we don't even have that. Like, you're not looking at Snell against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium and thinking like, oh, that's a lock. Like, like, you might be interested, but you're not looking at that like, oh, I feel totally safe with that. All in, Blake Snell, let's go. Like, that's not like, you know what I mean? Like,
no way.
Exactly. So that's the kind of slate this definitely is. But yeah, I mean, we know the Padres strike out a lot, but the Padres have been kind of hot. Like, they put up another 4 runs today. I like the lineup they put out today. I actually liked it, man. They had like Jankowski leading off, then they had Spangenberg batting second, followed by Hosmer. And they had Freddie Galvis batting 5th. Like it was a nice balance. The only thing that was wrong with it was Hunter Renfroe wasn't playing, and he's been one of their hotter hitters. But right now, Spangenberg is red hot. He's stealing bases every time he gets on. Jankowski's got stolen bases. I mean, they got a couple powerful lefties. This is a great ballpark for it. I mean, Hosmer spent most of his career playing in pitchers' parks. He's going to get to play in the house built for Freddie.
I think you can steal on Anibal Sanchez too, which is nice for Spangenberg because it's kind of he can get you there in like 2 ways. Like, he can hit a home run tomorrow, or he could like steal bases. I've played him a couple times, and it's always nice when he gets like a single in the 8th and then steals a base and gets you like 8-10 points there, and it's like, okay, cool, at 3-5, like, you love that.
Man, it starts adding up, So yeah, I think I do like the Padres. Like, we'll see what who's chalky and who's popular. My initial instinct is to kind of like the Padres here. With that said, I do not like Tyson Ross. I think some people will try it, but his last 3 games he hasn't looked so great, and the competition wasn't even that good. He's about to get a team, like you said, Cam, not just the Atlanta Braves, but a warm Atlanta Braves. So the Atlanta Braves offense that looks like they're starting to wake up a little bit. So yeah, I like the Braves stack for sure in this spot against Ross, and hopefully people do take Ross. I don't think people will, but hopefully they do, because I think
Ross. He's like an old dude too, so he like started off the year kind of good, but like as the year's going on, it seems like he's kind of wearing out, and it's not
catching up to him. Fast. Like, it really came after him.
Yeah, it's like dog years or whatever for Tyson Ross. Like,
exactly.
It's like 3 months for a normal human is like 2 years for him.
Exactly.
He's already worn down.
It does seem that way, yes. All right, looks like more bats. Jason Vargas, the lefty from the New York Mets, visiting Matt Cook. Still unsure of the exact pronunciation of that.
I think it's Cook.
Is it Coke?
It's Cook.
It's Cook.
Yeah.
Matt Cook.
Yeah. That's at least what the broadcasters say his name is. So
you say Cook, I say Cock, tomato.
Yeah.
I
prefer Cock.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. That was funny, man. That was good. Total in this game currently sits at 9. Arizona minus 110 at home. Yeah, looks like we have a nice little total here.
That cock comment really threw you
off
there.
It threw me off there. It had
just
me,
like
had me thinking about things. I'm like, what has my life come to? This is what I'm doing with my life. I'm on YouTube. I'm on a show on YouTube, on Podbean, all these things, and I just
life comes at you fast,
man. It does. Next, boom, it's here. There it is. Boom. Total's 9. Cam, what do you got, man? D-backs Mets, Arizona.
This is insane, right? You have this guy who's like a really bad pitcher who it's like he gives up a ton of hard contact, right? Like this, that, and the other thing. Bunch of hits for pretty much for the most part, but has these games where he scores like 16 and 30 against the Marlins. And this this Mets team has just been brutal. Like, I think I saw today some guy tweeted that they've been batting like $137 since May 31st or something.
Yes, I retweeted that. That's how you saw that. Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's bad. It's an interesting spot here. You could get a scenario where like Coke comes out and Cook. Holy shit, I'm doing it now. I don't even.
And you still prefer cock. I know that. So.
Yeah. I prefer cock, but I'm saying Cook and Coke. Just all over the place. Yeah, but like you could pitch him here, honestly, on this slate, like just with how bad the Mets have been and how like volatile Cook has been as well. Like there's a scenario where he goes out there and gets you 25 points just because that's how up and down he's been and that's how bad the Mets have been. But with that being said, like there is a scenario where he could go out and absolutely get shelled by the Mets just because that's kind of what his numbers look like, right? So I think it's interesting where there's an approach to this slate where I think you could just make like 2 lineups and put Cook on one of them and like stack a team, and then vice versa, like play 2 other pitchers and play Mets or something. But yeah, really weird game here. I'm interested to see how this one plays out because I think it could go completely in the Mets' favor or completely in like Cook's favor, where whatever. On the other side, though, I do like the D-backs bats here. They've been pretty hot recently. Scored 13 runs for me, I think, 2 nights ago, which it was nice when your top stack scores 13 runs, but then it also kind of sucks when like it's not via like the long ball or anything. It's like singles, doubles, and triples. Like 13 runs the hard way, right? So it was fine. Like I had a bunch of like 12s and 15s in my lineups, but no like 35-point guys, which you'd hope for when you have like a 30 or 13 run team. But I like them tomorrow. They're hot. Nick Ahmed versus a lefty. Paul Goldie's red hot. John Ryan Murphy's really good, especially versus lefties. Then Ketel Marte, I like him. I've been playing him a lot recently. Second base shortstop eligible, 3.8. He's had like 14 of his 18 hits the past couple of weeks have been extra base hits. Just a guy who's hitting for a lot of power right now, gap to gap as well. All of his hits just in right center, left center. So I like him a lot. Definitely have interest in the Arizona bats.
Yep, something's gonna give, man. I think this is one of them situations. Like we joke about situations like this all the time, where it's like, well, if you don't like the batters, then you gotta like the pitcher, and like, but on regular slates, it's not true. Like, no, I'll just pick a different game. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But on this game,
it's like you're forced.
Yeah, you don't have any lock pitching options, so like it kind of like the Mets of all the teams on this list, it's close between who's colder, the Mets or the Rays. It is really close. You know what I mean? Like, the Padres are not even in that equation. The Padres are way hotter than these guys. So it's like, it's a matter of who's the coldest. Is it the Rays or is it the Mets? And so, like, you're kind of thinking whichever one you think it is, or whichever environment you think is safer for pitching, like, probably should go with that guy. And so, if you're not going to roster any Mets, then you may as well roster Coke, because if you don't roster the Mets, they're going to be the low-owned guys that could hurt you. Whereas if you know what I'm saying? So, like, you might as well play Coke, because if they don't do well, then Coke is going to do well.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I'm calling him Coke. You said it was Cook.
Yeah.
This is a disaster with this guy's name. It just causes so much problems, man. Like, his name just...
It all stemmed from, like, this fucker got called up and we had no idea what his name was, and we had like 3 different names for him, and now all of a sudden he's still somehow pitching in the MLB 3 months later. And now he's just giving us headaches. He's making us prefer cock and all. He's just really changing like the whole dynamic of life. It's really tough.
He's making us prefer cock. It's
tough, man.
Oh man. But yeah, I think like you said, I think it's a situation where, like, if I'm not gonna roster any Mets, I might as well play Cook then. You know what I'm saying? Because he's gonna have a good game, and he's cheap. He's 6'2". So, like, even on a point per dollar level, like, if the Mets get blanked again, Cook is gonna give you like probably close to 20 points. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yep, exactly.
It's either like, if you're not gonna play Cook, then you might as well play at least 1 or 2 Mets, because then evidently you think somebody's gonna give him a hard time. And if that somebody does, you'll have that somebody at some very low ownership, because I don't think too many people are dying to play the Mets right now. And we got some good offensive spots. We got the Braves, we got the Red Sox, we got Seattle, we've got the Yankees. Like, I don't think people are dying to play the Mets. You know what I mean? We got the D-backs. The D-backs have been one of the hottest teams in the league too. So, like, I think that's one of the rare situations where it's actually legit. Either roster Mets or play, or you're passing up on a really solid play on a 4-game slate by not playing Cook.
Yep.
Damn it. Damn it. But anyway, I would love to say I lean towards the Mets, but I got to dig in. Like, the only reason I say that is because every time I look at Cook's numbers, like, I cringe. Like, I'm just like, this guy. No, like, I'm just like, it can't be. Like, I look at his numbers and it's just like, how is this?
Let me look up. I gotta look up his numbers quick now. 'Cause, I look at him every time.
And like, you immediately say, I have to attack this dude every time. And like, it's worked once, I think, for us, or maybe twice, but like, it hasn't worked like it's supposed to work. Like, you know what I'm saying?
What was that game to? This guy, dude. He pitched in Coors, right?
Yes.
I think he really only gave up he gave up 3 home runs, but like 2 of them were to Story or something. And I think he didn't even I think the Coors stacks weren't that effective, just because he gave up. Like, he seems to just kill stacks, right? Like, he just I don't know what it is, but I had Story that night, which is lucky because that's what he did damage against. But yeah, so righties, 5.12 xFIP, 2.6 home runs per 9. Versus lefties, 1.1 home run per 9, 4.41 xFIP, really low K percentage. I'm assuming his swinging strike isn't there, but when you look at the batted ball stats, 44% hard contact to lefties and 48% hard contact to righties, with decent fly ball percentages as well. So, like, this is a guy who, if the day's not going right for him, he could legitimately give up like 4 or 5 home runs quick.
It's crazy, man. Everything in his numbers tells you that, like, it just hasn't, like, I think your Brewers were like the first guys to really get a hold of him, right?
Yeah.
Like four home runs or something like that, or 4 runs. Like, he actually got bombed by the Brewers, but
4 bombs.
He put up a 29 against Miami. So, like, if he's playing the right opponent, which the Mets could be that opponent, and you don't play this guy at 6'2", he might go out there and raw point the shit out of you. You know what I'm saying? If the Mets are that bad tomorrow, you know. But
dude.
I do kind of have interest in some of these guys. Like, Todd Frazier's interesting. You mentioned the hard contact against righties, and then Brendan DeMoe, just because he's obviously been playing well. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. A 4-game slate. I think you do gotta. I think this is a kind of a pivotal situation to make a move. But you know what? We have a lot of good offenses. Maybe you don't need anything from it. What the fuck do I know? Anyway, last game, Cam. David Price, the lefty from the Boston Red Sox, visiting King Felix Hernandez of the Seattle Mariners. Total here is 8.5 Seattle, plus 120 home underdog, 64 degrees, 62% humidity. What do you got?
Yeah, this is. I mean, I never loved playing offenses in this ballpark here in Seattle, but I think I really like. This is a really good spot, I think, for both of these offenses. Seattle's been heating up as well here. They got to Snell like 5 or 6 days ago. Been hitting pitching pretty well. Haniger's starting to heat up a lot. I think he's got 3 home runs in 2 games. Nelson Cruz has been hitting the ball really hard. Healy's starting to get it going as well. I think he's homered in 2 consecutive days. Segura solid, D Gordon solid. Both those guys get on base quite often at the top of the lineup as well. And then when you factor in the matchup here against David Price, I'm not scared to attack David Price, especially a lineup here going up against Seattle, where they're pretty good against lefties. They have a lot of hitters in that lineup that historically have done pretty well against lefties. Nelson Cruz, obviously, but just the fact that Haniger's heating up and Healy's starting to heat up. I forgot about Zunino as well, but him at catcher at 3-3 on DraftKings, I think he's a solid play. So I do like these Mariners here, and I'd also like Boston going up against Felix. Felix tends to have like a couple outlier games at home. Seems to do pretty decent there sometimes. It could be another scenario where like he has one of those games at home again, but I would put my money on Boston if I had to over King Felix this late in his career. So I think I could definitely go back to Boston with the same old options that we always talk about here. With them, Mookie, Benintendi, JD, Moreland, Bogarts, and Devers. Those would be the 6 that I like.
Yeah, man. Like you said, I think that Seattle could be a very good stack from a ownership value standpoint. Like, you got a very hot team. People may not feel comfortable playing Snell against the Yankees. They may prefer to play David Price, who has pitched a little better in his defense recently against the Mariners, especially because most people, people know the Yankees everywhere. Seattle's not exactly a popular team. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, there's going to be some people out there who don't even realize how hot Seattle's actually been. And because they're in bed by the time these guys play. And Seattle's been as hot as anybody, man, from a wins perspective, and now from a power perspective. Cruz has been red hot. Haniger's heating up. Ryan Healy's been on fire. Like, just multiple double-dong games. Zanito hit a home run recently. Maybe he comes around. Denard Span has been doing well. Kyle Seager has been one of their best hitters against lefties this season. It's like, like, when I look at David Price, like, he's more of the guy that I'm like, I don't think I want that. Like, Snell has enough strikeout stuff that I think he'll get at least I think he'll get a few strikeouts. Like, I think he's got a floor there. Price, I'm not so sure. I think Price's floor may be a little bit lower because, number one, Seattle doesn't strike out as much. Number two, Price can't strike. He doesn't have the strikeout ability as much, in my opinion. He's a little older now. Yeah. And so I don't have interest in Price. So that means I'm gonna like the Seattle guys. It doesn't have to be a full stack, but I do think I want some of these guys that are hot, like Ryan Healy, Nelson Cruz. I could do a full stack, but this is a good one here, man. Like, we have a lot of good bats. Like, every game you can make a case for every bat. So this is like one of those. This is different. There's been slates where we've had like a 4-game slate where you can make a case for every pitcher, but then that makes it really hard to find the bats. You know what I'm saying? But this is an interesting slate, and obviously, like you said, man. I mean, Boston against King Felix. I don't think I want a full Boston stack, just because like they did fly across the country. It's a big-ass ballpark. They just got done playing in Baltimore. It's going to be,
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I do want a couple because, like, they're not like the Mets, like, who will get blanked. Like, they're more like, okay, so they only hit 3 home runs today. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I could still look at, like, the usual guys, like Babette's, JD, fucking, 1 or 2 of these guys get a dong. It's what they do. But I don't think I would want to invest in, like, a 4 or 5 man just because we have so many other good spots. And people are going to take Boston because it's Boston, All right.
Yep.
That's going to do it for the game-by-game breakdown. At this point, remind everybody, if you haven't already, check us out at whitestick.com. Go ahead and check us out. It's pretty cool. Come join the nation. See what it's all about. $2.50 gets you in for a day. It's an entire day of Wise Take MLB content. Tomorrow is a perfect day to get a day pass because we do have 2 slates. So you'll get the GPP article in the morning. You'll get the cash game article in the morning. You'll get the expert poll in the morning for the early slate. And then for the main slate, you will get Cammy Boys cheat sheets. You'll get another GPP article. You'll get another cash game article. You'll get another expert poll. And then, of course, you'll also get the Y stream, which is something like this, but it's an hour and a half before lock. After all of our guys, whoever's on the show, have actually done their research and really dug in on the slate. This way you can get the best takes, reactions to lineups, all kinds of stuff. It's a really cool thing. And all the while, it is a community. We do have a chat feature in there. You can talk it up with the other Wise Take Nation members. In addition to the other Wise Take analysts, it's a really cool thing we got going on in all seriousness. I mean, we got guys winning constantly. We got members who stayed with us from basketball and telling us that they've never played baseball before, but they wanted to give us a shot. And, these guys are literally like, are balling. Like, we had, like, our boy MG, 5K, then followed up not even a few days later, 1,000. Next thing you know, a few days later, another 1,000. He's just been killing it quietly. So, come check us out. Come rock with us, man. It's worth it. If you can afford $2.50 to try us out, you probably shouldn't be playing DFS. All right, Cam. Top threes, man. We're going to do this the main slate here. So, who are your top 3 pitchers for tomorrow?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, put you on the spot like that, man.
It's so bad.
It is bad.
I mean, Snell, I'm just going to put in the top 3 just because that's how bad it is and just based off pure talent. But I hate the spot for him.
Right.
Anibal Sanchez, I think. If he's going to be popular, though, I don't think I'm going to play him either. And Matt Cook, I guess.
I got a very similar top 3, man. Only one guy different. I prefer Domingo over Cook for the strikeout upside. But I like Snell, Domingo, and Anibal Sanchez right now, and that's wild. Like that, it's wild. But yeah, I'm with you there. Padres, they might be hot, but they're still striking out. Top 3 stacks, I guess.
Seattle. Holy shit.
This is like
this is so bad. Seattle, Atlanta, and
D-backs.
I was thinking just based off how I'll probably play this slate. Like I'll probably play Cook on one and Mets on the other.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the vibe I'm getting of what I'm gonna do tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I'll probably just put Seattle, Atlanta, and the Mets, just because I feel like one side of that game is gonna have to give, and right. That's.
And you know what? I will say this: this doesn't. It's just a Vegas perception thing. But aren't you surprised that Vargas is even that little of an underdog? Like, wouldn't you expect the Mets to be a lot bigger underdogs, considering how bad they've been and how good Arizona has been?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And how good Cook has been, and how bad Vargas has been. Doesn't that seem weird to you that the line's only that? They're barely.
Arizona's been piss pounding the ball.
Yeah, man.
And going up against Vargas at home, and I agree.
Weird. Right, fishy line kind of,
And it's interesting. And they have a 4.5 run total, and they've been really bad.
Yeah, it's where does that 4.5 supposed to come from? It's just
right. Exactly.
But no,
you. And you're
again, I'm with, and you know what? And if they don't do it, then that means Cook is probably going to have a really good game for a 6-2 price tag.
Yeah.
So I think that makes a lot of sense.
It'll be a scenario where I make 2 lineups tomorrow, and I'll have Cook in Seattle on one, and then I'll have the Mets and Anibal Sanchez, and then Cook and the Braves will do good. And Seattle will suck, and like the Mets or like what like it'll be like a thing where like two teams do good, but like they're on opposite lineups.
It's like the wrong combo.
And then I'll have the two I'll have my two little lineup things in like the middle of the tournament instead of how I want it, where they're at the two different ends.
Yeah.
That seems to happen to me way too often, where I have like the right guys that they're just on the fucking opposite teams of the two.
Wrong combination.
Maybe I'll make 4. That's a good. You gotta learn from your mistakes. I'll make 4 this time, and then I'll flip flop the 2 lineups so that literally can't have. It's foolproof. I'm gonna win like 30 grand tomorrow. That's easy. All right, we just figured out how to win. Just title this podcast "How to Win at DraftKings." I think you muted yourself too.
I did. You're right. Yeah.
You were just speechless after I figured out how to do that. You're like,
I was so stunned. I was like, it's that easy? 4 lineups? That's the magical. That's the key. That's it.
Yeah.
But
you just start talking about cock, and the next thing you know, your brain gets going, and you're good to go.
But you gotta you have to build it as if you're building 2 lineups, and then from there you add the other 2 lineups, and you split the other lineups. Right? That's how it's got to be.
There you go.
See,
you're already
I'm on the same page.
I'm
on the same page here,
Yeah.
man. We're seeing the same thing.
Yeah.
We're going to make a lot of money.
Yep, there we go. Oh, my God. The reverse jinx is going to be real now.
Yeah.
I'm going to fucking laugh.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be so cold. Dog watch time, man. Who's hitting home run?
Let's go with Haniger is the easy one.
I like it. I will go with Freddie Freeman as another easy one.
Yep, that's true. Goldie.
Okay, I like that one. I'll take some. Who do I really want? Give me some Eric Hosmer. I'll take 2 first basemen.
Yeah, he's been hitting the ball really well.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Maybe Nelson Cruz.
I like that.
Yeah, we'll go with him.
I like it. I do. And I will go with. I guess that leaves me with. I guess Corey Spangenberg. I guess I like the Padres a little more than I thought. But it's really just it's mainly just those 2 guys, honestly. So.
I feel like you have a soft spot for the Padres.
I do in all seriousness. They have helped me. I have won money, on the Padres.
No, I mean there's nothing wrong with it.
No, yeah, I'm cool with it. I can admit it. I'm not I'm not hiding it. It's got to be me. And for some reason, me has a soft spot for the Padres. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm out there. Now I'm out there. I don't know why. Maybe I have sympathy because I look at my Mets and I see so many similarities right now. That could be.
Dude, I hope you guys trade one of your aces.
Oh, I will kill you.
To my Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah, right.
Let's go. That would be huge.
No. I had Paulie tell me to say, you know what Paulie said to me earlier? Paulie sends me a text and he was like, what's all this talk here about DeGrom going to the Yankees? I'm like, if they trade DeGrom, this is what I said to him. I said, if they trade DeGrom, I will go to Citi Field and I will take a dump on right there. I'll take a dump right on the floor. That's what I told him I would do. And then Paulie tells me, a Yankee fan, tells a Met fan, don't be greedy. Don't be greedy. You got Aaron Judge. You got look at Giancarlo Stanton. Look at all the players you have. Yeah. Severino. Look at who you have. Look at your bullpen. And you're telling me I'm being greedy by not wanting my Mets to trade DeGrom? The only thing we have left at this point to the Yankees?
Literally.
They use the wrong terminology, my friend. It's just the wrong terminology.
Don't be greedy. That's awesome.
He just laughed after.
Dude, can you imagine your team right now if you didn't have DeGrom?
Oh my god!
You guys, it would be so sad.
Oh, I mean, it's already sad, but you're right because then, how would they make money? Well, people only come to watch them when DeGrom's pitching.
1-0, you guys would lose every day, 6.
We literally lose every day. I mean, DeGrom has pitched gems all season, and I think in his last 9 starts, or now today, make that 10 starts, he's got 2 wins or something like that. It's
Yeah,
bad, man.
he's like 1-8 with like a 1.55 ERA,
It's disgusting.
and like he goes deep into games too.
It's
It's really
It's
bad.
disgusting, man. I mean, the man was so desperate for offense, he hurt himself trying to swing a bat. Like, that's how desperate he was. He was trying to hit a home run so bad. He's like, these guys are never going to do it. Like, I got to do it. I got to do everything right now. He's like, I got to
but
MJ it.
we'll give you some of our farm system that's like one of the best in the majors. I'll even throw in like Domingo Santana or something.
Domingo Santana, mighty generous of you, Cam.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can have like Eric Thames too if you want him. And then we'll just take DeGrom. And then I'll go to the World Series in Milwaukee.
There you go. We'll go to the World Series. I'll tell you what, Cam, you make sure I got a ticket with you and we're on. How about that?
Yeah. And you can wear your Mets shit and have a DeGrom jersey on while he's pitching game 1.
You got it all back.
Just like slouched over in your chair.
You're just filled with like epiphanies tonight, man. You're just figuring everything out. Like you just figured out how to win at DFS. You just figured out how the Brewers are going to win the World Series. Exactly how. You're just full of epiphanies today, man. You got to roll it, man.
I'm up to some stuff tonight.
You are up to something.
I gotta I'm gonna enter some like U.S. Open Millie Maker lineups tonight and shit. Like I'm just gonna get after it.
It's about to go down, man. It's about to go down. All right.
Nope.
All right.
There we go.
If you're watching on YouTube, please click that thumbs up, that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you are watching on Facebook, please like and share to support the Wise Take Nation. If you are watching us on Twitch or Twitter, give us a follow, give us a retweet, give us a like, all the good shit. And if you are listening to us on Podbean or iTunes, give us some 5-star reviews, help bump us up those charts. It means a lot to us, allows us to continue to do these free videos for you. And it allows you to see Cam at least once or twice a week on podcasts. So you got to show the love if you want to see more Cam. Cam, anything in closing for the Wise Take Nation?
Not much, man. Tomorrow should be interesting. I'll just leave it at that.
He's got a new.
Hopefully,
see, look at his face. He's got the new strategy right now. He's like, I am going to take over the world tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Tomorrow will be interesting. That's all I have to say.
All right.
I finally figured it out.
Oh, God. So, for KamG333, for myself, the entire Wise Take Nation, as always, good luck.
Yeah.